Week 1 is officially in the books, everybody, so we must look forward to week 2. We need to look at the waiver wire. We need to fix our teams. Let's look to week 2 and let's try to improve our teams. And the way to do that is via the waiver wire. So let's hop into the waiver wire board. As we usually do, we start with the running backs, and we have our homework, man. This is the section where it's your handcuffs. It's your guys that you need to make sure are not available. These are your high-value handcuffs. These are guys where they're on good teams. Maybe the guy ahead of them is a little bit older. Maybe there's a little bit more injury risk. So just make sure that these guys are all taken. From the top, you have Braylon Allen. Even though Breece Hall looked really good, Braylon Allen still gets the touchdown. He's still going to be somewhat involved as like the bruiser running back. It's not going to be as valuable as I maybe thought it would be before the season. Make sure he's picked up. Will Shipley, a little bit of a rib injury, but he still seems to be the RB2 there, even though they do trade for Tank Bigsby yesterday. Is there a chance Tank Bigsby becomes the RB2 eventually? Maybe. I kept him here at the bottom of the list just in case. But you got Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Justice Hill. Keaton Mitchell dream is over. Harbaugh even said in the post-game conference that a reporter asked him why Keaton Mitchell was a healthy scratch, why he didn't play. And he said, dude, there's just not enough usage for him. He's going to be out there for 5 to 10 plays if we do use him. And the team's going to know what we're doing. They're going to know Keaton Mitchell is going to be getting the ball. They're going to be kind of game planning for it. And he doesn't really play special teams. He's improving, but that's not his area. It's going to be Justice Hill. So we were wrong on Keaton Mitchell. He's got the juice. He's got the explosives, but he's not going to be a thing. Blake Corum did get a little bit of run like the second half. Roshan Johnson, when he comes back, I think there's going to be a role for him here. I don't know if they're going to want to use Swift in this workhorse role they had for him last night. Taj Brooks, obvious dude. You know, Bengals are going to be a top offense. You need to have Taj Brooks. He's the backup to Chase Brown. Tyler Algier, same thing. He actually got a little bit of run. He's always going to be kind of like a little bit annoying for Bijan owners. Now, DJ Giddens is somebody we need to talk about, man. But I'm going to talk about him a little bit further in terms of how much fab to actually spend on him, but he got a lot of run, man. Jonathan Taylor had a little bit of a neck issue. They were winning the game, so Jonathan Taylor got kind of taken out in the second half, and DJ Giddens looked pretty good in a little bit of run that he got. Bashal Tune looks to be the RB2 or RB3 now. If something were to happen to ETN, I think Bashal Tune will be the guy, and then LaQuint Allen will be the third down back. He's also somebody that's interesting. You can maybe add him here as well. I just didn't for the sake of, he's a little bit too far down the depth chart at the moment. Kareem Hunt got about 40% of the snaps behind Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco looked okay, nothing special. Kendry Miller actually looked pretty good in the little bit of run he got behind Kamara. And then, as I mentioned, Tank Bigsby. But now we move on to the interesting part of the video, and we have our fab budgets for these running backs. Jacory, Krosky, Merritt, Bill is going to be the RB1 of this team. If not already, eventually he will be. And if you're going to get a starting running back on a high-octane, high-powered offense like the Commanders, you need to open up the coffers. You need to sell the house, sell your dog, sell your cat, pay what you got to pay, man. Know your league. So if you're in a league where people just drop their load on players early in the season, then you might have to bump this up, man. I put 20% plus because it depends how sharp your league is. Sharp leagues, people are a little bit conservative with their fab. They don't just drop $60 in week 1. But in your kind of taco leagues, in your YMCA leagues, in your aunt leagues, and your Aunt Ethel's in the league, your little cousin who doesn't even know how to talk yet has a team, then you might want to drop stacks. You might want to drop somewhere between 50% plus in those types of leagues, man. I know that sounds crazy this early, but they're not going to be using Rodriguez. They're not going to be using Jeremy McNichols very much. Eckler's going to maintain his role as the third down back. That's what they want for him. And Jacory Cross-Merritt's going to be the early down guy. He is the Brian Robinson on this team. Dylan Sampson gets a lot of run. He actually was a PPR scam. He had like 18 fantasy points in PPR leagues. He's going to be the main guy until Judkins is up to speed. There's a chance Judkins plays this week, and he's going to be the early down back. He's going to be the workhorse back potentially. But I do think Dylan Sampson played his way into a permanent role as like a pass catcher. So we want to go out there and get Dylan Sampson. If you're in a PPR league, you can even start him this week. They're going to be playing against the Baltimore Ravens. And if this team throws 45 times again and Joe Flacco is still the QB, it can be a sneaky good game, a sneaky good shootout game. The Cleveland Browns run defense is very good. It's going to force the Ravens to actually have to throw the ball. Maybe we get a shootout. And Dylan Sampson's somebody that I think is going to be a very sneaky, very good start this week, even if Judkins plays. Then we have Brian Robinson for the Niners. Now, Christian McCaffrey, what fucking calf injury. The dude had like 30 touches in week 1. But Brian Robinson actually got some run as well. He actually got a couple carries. He looked pretty good in those carries. If CMC were to go down for any reason, look, if CMC continues getting 30 touches a week, he has a high likelihood of getting injured, man. He is so involved in the offense. He is the offense. They don't have any pass catchers. It is in their interest, in my opinion, if they want to keep CMC healthy, if they want to maintain being a formidable offense, they need to get Brian Robinson kind of involved. And that's why I have him in this 20% tier. Now we move down to the 10 to 20% tier. We got Bashal Tuten, as already mentioned, Trey Benson, and Kenneth Gainwell. Now, you can make the argument that Trey Benson should be in this upper area because in a game where they were winning, the Cardinals were, Trey Benson actually got quite a lot of work, and he actually looked really good, man. Like he actually busted off like a 50-yard run. I'm not gonna lie, man. James Conner actually didn't look very good. A lot of people might disagree with that, dude, but I was watching that game because I was going against James Conner. And I will say, man, there is a small chance that age is catching up with him. They don't want him to be overworked. They want to see what they have in Trey Benson. I'm going to be honest, dude. He might be like the league winner of the season if James Conner were to go down. And there's a high chance, man. He's 30 years old. And if he's going to be getting run already without an injury, man, what are the chances that he just plays himself into a role and it's just a split backfield? There's definitely a universe. It's non-0% chance of that happening. So I don't know, man. I like Trey Benson. I think I'd put him even higher up here, but you can spend anywhere from 10 to 20% just to make sure you get him, make sure he's at the end of your bench. If you're a James Conner owner, for sure you need to have Trey Benson on your team. Kenneth Gainwell leads the team in snaps and attempts. The reason I don't have him higher, that he's like a bona fide starter alongside Jaylen Warren, is because that was such a crazy high scoring game. I don't think that's going to continue. I think we see a little bit more regularity. I think Jaylen Warren is going to be the starter. But, eventually you also have Caleb Johnson coming in. Like, at what point does he get more work? Do they really draft this dude in the second round to not be the starter here? I don't know, man. I can't imagine it. Even with the extension on Jaylen Warren, I mean, Jaylen Warren was always somebody that this team liked, but they always kind of just used him as like a third down back. I don't know. Kenneth Gainwell, I think, eventually gets phased. Caleb Johnson plays in. That's why I don't have him higher. I think he's kind of like a temporary guy. If you need him this week, I would consider grabbing him. And then I don't know why I have Bashal Tune twice. It's not supposed to be there. But anyway, we got DJ Giddens. As I mentioned previously, I drop about 5%, 7% on him. $7 out of 100 if you have that. Brashard Smith is somebody that's a little interesting, man. I think he was actually fairly involved when it comes to special teams, and he was on the field a little bit. He had like 13 or 15% snaps. I think there's a chance that he could become the third down back. Maybe not anytime soon. He's a speculative one. You can even say he's in the Goodwill category, because I don't know if I'd spend any money trying to pick him up. But nevertheless, man, he's somebody that's interesting. Like, if your waiver wire is just absolutely horrendous, like mine is in a lot of my leagues, you might have to drop, 5% on him or something. Ollie Gordon, the fucking hype, the hype came. It was like a 3-day hype cycle for Ollie Gordon. He did not play at all. And that's in a game that they were getting blown out. He still couldn't see the field. And a lot of people say he's slow, that he's not quick enough to be in this offense. But this offense might not be this offense for very long. We might see a bunch of people get fired. We might see people get traded. They might, dissect the whole team down. So then we have the Goodwill category. These are guys that if you have a spot on your bench and it's free and you need a little running back help, I would grab these guys kind of in this order. It would be like Woody Marks. It would be Manungai / Roshan if he gets healthy this week. Emmanuel Wilson, if you need somebody like this week and you're like speculating and you're kind of really desperate. But Marshawn Lloyd is the guy that you want to add to your team and then throw him on your IR, because he is going to be the guy eventually. Like, I do think he's going to be the backup to Jacobs eventually. At the moment, it's Wilson. It might be Lloyd later. Dameon Pierce, the dream is probably done with him. He didn't get anything. Even Dare Ogunba fucking Wale got more touches than him. So next we have the wide receivers. I have two categories here. Guys that I need to start this week, and then speculative ads. This is like if you're looking to the second half of the season. Top of the list in the 20% category, we have Cedric Tillman. I would drop up to like 60, 70% on him. He's a bona fide full-time starter. Maybe start every week, no matter what the matchup is. I genuinely believe the sky is kind of the limit for Cedric Tillman. I just think he's such a good talent. And he seems to be like the X receiver for this team full time. So he played in pretty much all snaps. Marquise Brown is next. Now you can make the argument Marquise should be above Tillman because he's on a better offense with Pat Mahomes, but I think he's a rental, right? I think he's just kind of like a dude that's going to help us for the next 4 to 5 weeks. And then I do think his role kind of diminishes. Quentin Johnston, is it a fluke? Maybe not. We could be regretting it by the end of the season. He could just be the full-time deep threat. And this looks like a team that wants to throw the ball a lot more than we thought. The Chargers, Kayshon Boutte might be legit, dude. Going back to last season in week 18, he had like 20 fantasy points. And then again, he had another 100 yards this week. So he might be legit, dude. And he looks to be the wide receiver 1 for this team. The dream of Kyle Williams, I think, is dead. Then Calvin Austin. Last week in this exact video, right before the week started, I said these guys you should add to your bench for free. Calvin Austin was somebody that I talked about. I said it's either Roman Wilson or Calvin Austin. I leaned Roman Wilson because I did think he's like the better talent. But to be honest, that's kind of a mistake because I do think Calvin Austin fits what this team needs a lot more. They have DK Metcalf, the big body X receiver. Calvin Austin's like the shifty, speedy Josh Downs type of dude, if that makes any sense. So we should have seen that coming. He had like 15 fantasy points, got into the end zone, only like 6 targets, but he could just very well be this number 2 guy the entire season. Now, the question is there going to be enough pass volume on this team on a regular basis, right? I think this is a team that does want to run the ball a little bit more. And keep in mind, Caleb Johnson was not involved one bit. Now we have the 10 to 20% range. These are guys where it's like, I can pick them up and start them now. Now, again, Alec Aomanor was somebody that I was really debating where to put him. I do think that you can make the case that Alec Aomanor should be in this top thing just based on usage. He was out there running routes. He was bona fide number 2. He was highly targeted. He had like 7 targets in the game or something like that. So you can make the case that he should be like 20% plus. Like you should drop 25, 30 fab on him, because when it comes to this Titans team, it was Calvin Ridley as the number 1 guy, clearly the best wide receiver they have. And Alec Aomanor was legit like the number 2 guy, man. And I know it's not going to be the best team, and it's going to be Cam Ward. Maybe he's going to struggle as a rookie. But if you're going to get a wide receiver 2 on a team that might be losing a lot of games and throwing the ball a lot, you can make the case for him, man. You can put him above Dubs. You can put him above Booty potentially if you want, if you're not really sure about Booty, if you don't think he's legit. I mean, you could say the same thing for Aomanor, but Romeo Dubs, of course, Romeo Dubs is one dude. Again, last week I said we should pick him up because he seems to be a full-time receiver, and he did have the most snaps out of all the receivers for the Packers. But I think it's just problematic in general having any receiver for the Packers. I mean, I'm down horrendous at the moment. I drafted Golden in like every league, and he turned out to be an absolute fart. Rashad Bateman, again, like I said, dude, he's like the late night Del Taco. You can pick him up. You know, when you're in a pinch, you don't know what else to do. You just grab that. You grab some Del Taco, you go home and watch anime. That's Rashad Bateman. I don't know if I'd spend 10 to 20% on Rashad Bateman. If I'm honest, I might spend like 5 on him. I do have him as like I need to start this week prayer type play, right? So maybe I do something like this. You guys are watching the productions live right now. 1 to 10%. And we got Bateman down here. That's probably how I would do it, to be honest. I think I'd even add Troy Franklin to this category because he was decently involved, man. He was decently involved. He played enough snaps. He was out there. He seems to be the wide receiver 3 for this team. And Marvin Mims had a bad game. He had a down game. And Troy Franklin was actually looking pretty good out there. So I don't know, man. If you were a Marvin Mims drafter and you're big on this offense, Troy Franklin might be the guy that emerges, dude. He's somebody that I definitely have a waiver claim out for. All right, now we move on to the speculative ads, 5 to 10%. These guys are speculative, so you don't really have to spend a lot. Isaac Tesla, you can make the case that he should be in this other category. I just don't know if he's going to be productive this early, right? I think he's somebody where you might have to spend up for him, but he's not going to bear fruit for a while. He's not going to actually help our teams for a little bit, right? Like I do think you might have to spend like 15, 20% on him, but you're not going to be able to really use him this week. I know the team after the game did say they want to increase his usage, but I don't know how they do that. Like, does that mean Jameson Williams takes a back seat? I just don't see that happening, right? Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs getting his catches. Like where are they going to get this production from, right? Like Jared Goff is not at his best when he throws 45 times. He's kind of like a wet paper bag, kind of a fart. So I don't know if they want to lean on the pass, right? This is a team that I think should become a run team again. So they're not going to play the Packers every week. I will say that, man. They're not going to have high pass volume very often. So now we move to the next one. This is Goodwill category. These guys are free, but I do like them. Malik Washington is kind of my favorite waiver ad. The vibes are so bad in Miami that I think Tyreek Hill gets chopped. I think Mike McDaniel gets fucking fired. Tua Tagovailoa has a lot of rapport with Malik Washington. Pull up Malik Washington's profile and you guys can see there are some reports over the summer where Tua was saying that he has a super strong connection with Malik Washington. Malik Washington had himself like 2 screen passes, manufactured touches straight to him. He had like 5 targets, I think 2 receptions for like 30 yards or something. There's a heartbeat here, man. There's a case where, you know, they played 3 wide receiver sets, a lot more than they have previously, and Malik Washington was the 3rd guy in, man. So I think there's a chance that it's Malik Washington and Waddle. Tyreek Hill gets shipped out at some point. If they lose this next game and it's like a bad loss again, I would expect Tyreek Hill to get traded sooner rather than later. It's not going to be one of those things where they wait until the trade deadline. So, and then you have these speculative dudes, just random guys. You can get him for free, see what happens. Trey Harris, I'm dropping him in my league just because I need people now. I don't have like anyone to start. But, you know, if you have a spot on your bench and you're willing to just stash someone for like the end of the season, I think Trey Harris is decent. But yeah, the rest of the guys are really just speculative. Like they need an injury or they need to really prove something. There's no point picking them up if you don't have a bench spot. All right, now we move on to the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks is a category that I think it's more suitable for people who are streaming QBs. So if you're streaming QBs, this section might be very interesting to you. We have our 20% section. We have Justin Fields. Listen, he's going to be a full-time starter all year, smash start, no matter what the matchup is. You spend 30% plus, you spend 50%, 60, 70, whatever you got to spend to get him. He's going to be a league-winning quarterback. We should have known, dude. I was big on him all offseason, all summer. He was my late-round QB target. I got scared off, man. I got scared off in that preseason game where I saw that he looked like absolute butt cheeks in that preseason game. He couldn't even get like a 3-yard slant pass to be converted. I was fucking dead wrong, man. He does play against Buffalo. You can start him. Buffalo's defense is not that good against the pass. So you can definitely start Justin Fields. And then second in this little category of Caleb Williams. Start him as well this week against Detroit. Could be a high-scoring game. It's a divisional game. I'd spend anywhere from 20 to 30% on him. Probably not more than 30%. All right, next we have the 10 to 20% range. We got Daniel Jones, who I like as a season-long quarterback, but don't start him this week. They're playing against Denver. Pick him up. You know, he might cost you 10 to 15 bucks if you have to. Again, look at your league. Look at the history of your league and how people spend their money. If it's a new league and you know anyone in the league, you're probably going to have to drop like 15%. I mean, he was like the number 3 quarterback on the week, so you're probably going to have to. Michael Penix actually looked decent. He had like 23 fantasy points. Very much greatly helped by that last rushing touchdown. If he didn't get that rushing touchdown, which it was fucking so close, he would have only had like 16 fantasy points. He wouldn't be as hype about him. So keep that in mind, man. Like, he was very much helped by the rushing touchdown. Is he going to get that every week? Probably not. But I do think he looked pretty good. And this is an offense that's going to be able to move the ball. So Jordan Love is the last guy in this category. At the end of the day, he's a good player on a good team with a good defense, a good run game, very good wide receivers. He spreads the ball around a lot. He could have those games where he throws like 3 or 4 touchdowns when it's like a tight game. Maybe they're losing. That's possible. But I do think he's going to be very inconsistent. He's going to have a game like he did against the Detroit Lions, where he only throws a touchdown, or I think I think he only had 1 passing touchdown. You're going to have those issues with him, man. But you can start him this week for sure. Then we have the 1 to 10% range. These are guys, I mean, I think Geno Smith actually looked really good. He threw for over like 350 yards, looked very good. Sam Darnold had one of the highest PFF grades out of all the QBs, and you know, he just had some bad luck, man. He had like a fumble at the end of the game. I don't know. I think he looked pretty decent. It's going to be like a decent system. He just didn't throw for a lot of yards, and he really honed in on JSN. Aaron Rodgers, 4 touchdowns, but is that going to be something that he always does? Joe Flacco, I love him this week against Baltimore. As I mentioned, that could be a shootout. He is somebody that if he's going to throw 45 times a game, man, we kind of have to pay attention. Then we have the Goodwill category. These are free. Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson. Then we have Tua Tagovailoa. I would not pay anything. I would actually need $10. I need 10% of my fab in order to get him. They're playing against New England. Probably not something we're super excited about. I mean, in all honesty, man, like, you can pick him up to see what happens. Like, week 1 is weird, man. It could be a case where this Miami Dolphins offense is going to be better, but week 1 was just not representative of it. So you never know, man. If you're down bad at QB and there's literally no one else, you can maybe throw him just to see what happens. All right, man. So we're going to be looking at tight ends, dude. And at the top of this list, I got Harold Fannin Jr. You got to spend what you got to spend. If you're in a league where everybody has a tight end, you're kind of the only one kind of really searching for one. Maybe you punt a tight end like I do every season. Harold Fannin is the guy. Juwan Johnson is a close second. So spend what you got to spend. I put 20% plus, but if you got to spend 30, 40, whatever you got to do, he will be a season-long guy. I really do believe that. David Njoku took a back seat, man. Now, that could be a matchup thing. It could be defensive matchups, just kind of how the game script went. But I do think that this team saw something in him all offseason, in the summer, in training camp. They were talking about him, and they used him, man. They used the fuck out of this man. So Juwan Johnson, similarly, I have this spreadsheet. You guys can go grab this from the Discord. I'm basically searching for tight ends, man. I am down bad, so I'm doing this research, so I thought I can just share with you guys. I highlighted Juwan Johnson, Harold Fannin, Hunter Henry. I want to get guys that are running routes, that are getting targeted, so they actually have a decent enough target share where it matters. And what is their yards per route run? So are they actually accruing yards, right, when they do run routes? So Juwan Johnson was at the top of the list, 8 for 76, 26% target share. He had 11 targets, bro. Insane. 51 routes run. The dude is out there as a bona fide, legitimate receiving threat for them. He is like the number 3 receiving option, if not the number 2 ahead of Shaheed. I really debated these two guys, man. I think they can both kind of be up here in this category. And spend what you got to spend, dude, because if you're looking for a tight end, those are kind of the 2 guys that I do think are going to have season-long value. And then Jonnu Smith also, man. You can make the argument that he should be up there, but let's look at the spreadsheet real quick. So Jonnu Smith, man, I mean, only 20 routes run, but he does get 5 receptions for 15 yards, and he does get that touchdown. Target share was decent. 20% plus is always good for a tight end. Targets per route run, so 0.3. So he's not running too many routes from a volume point of view, but he is getting targeted on those routes. So we like that, across the board, pretty decent. He's somebody that Arthur Smith loves. They love getting him manufactured touches. He led the NFL, the entire NFL, that includes wide receivers, in manufactured touches. He had 4 screen passes directly to him. So in this offense, he's somebody that they really want to use in that role. So kind of have to go after him, man. Brenton Strange is another one that actually was very interesting to me. 24 routes run, not that great when it comes to volume. Remember, keep in mind they were winning the game most of the time. So 4 receptions for 59. We love that. 2.46 yards per route run. Very, very usable. He looked good. He was very involved early on when it was a closer game. So what if they were losing, right? Maybe he would have went 8 for fucking 80. You never know. So Brent Strange, somebody that is very interesting. We have a couple other dudes here on this list. We have like they're kind of veterans. They've kind of done it before. They're not very exciting, but they can potentially be startable. I have Hunter Henry and Zach Ertz. Zach Tonjes is very much like Goodwill. You don't have to pay anything for him. He already caught a touchdown in the last game where George Kittle was out. So at the end of the day, this team is down bad, right? The San Francisco 49ers really do not have any other options. So you could do worse. And then looking at this chart, man, you have Chig Okonkwo, 31 routes run, but only 3 receptions for 19 yards. It's kind of a letdown. I was drafting him in a lot of leagues. But, 16% target share, that's okay. You want 20% plus. 16 could be good, dude. It's the first game for Cam Ward. Noah Fant was interesting. Only 14 routes run. Keep in mind, man, they only had the ball for 24 minutes. The fucking Cleveland Browns are playing keep away. So 4 for 26 and a touchdown is very interesting. 21% target share. What the fuck, dude? What happened to Chase and Higgins? That was a weird ass game plan where Noah Fant was like the highest targeted player. So he's interesting. I do think it's not going to hold up because keep in mind they do have Mike Gesicki there, so that's kind of going to be a disgusting team. And then Dallas Goedert probably not on the waiver wire, but if he is, I think we can't expect this type of target share every week, right? He was such a low ADOT as well. Like 7 catches for only 44 yards, bro. Really no chance of a touchdown. Like when it comes to them being in the red zone, man, like AJ Brown, Smith, Hurts, Saquon, they're all kind of ahead of him on the pecking order when it comes to touchdowns. So ideally, you want to get a tight end who has a little bit more touchdown upside, like a Juwan Johnson, where when they're in the red zone, you could say he has like an equal chance out of the other guys, right? Like it's like Olave, then maybe him. Maybe you can even make the case that it's Juwan Johnson over Olave. But anyway, that does it for the video, man. I hope you guys enjoy it, dude. Hope you guys like this format of this waiver wire board, man. A lot of people said that they liked it, that they liked the visualization of seeing the names and seeing the fab budgets and stuff. In the Discord, you guys can grab this tight end report where we have these advanced metrics. There's also like a wide receiver report as well, where you can see like target shares, receptions, routes run, which is very important to know who's out there running routes and who's involved in the offense. I'll catch you guys tomorrow where we will be doing trade targets, and I'll see you guys then. Peace.